Hi folks, today we have a special preview of Steam-Forged Games' new Elden Ring board game sets, the Machinations of the Witch and Dominion of Wrath, which will be available on gamefound on the 28th of August. Today, you're going to see some of the new miniatures included in the sets, a few new mechanics like the Scarlet Rot, a new boss board, some Tarnished and their equipment and abilities, and a few other components. But that's not all. We will also give our first impressions on the Dominion of Wrath Gauntlet encounter, as well as the Machinations of the Witch boss fight against the Red Wolf of Radagon. But before I start, I would like to give a special thanks to Steam-Forged Games for sending us the sample and being so nice to answer all of our questions. We really appreciate it. Hi, I'm Nick and we are Tabletop Duo. Grab your favorite drink and let's start by checking all the components. Keep in mind though that everything you see is work in progress content and subject to change. So I'm gonna start by showing the boards we got. So we got two boards. This one is more reddish, kind of like the Scarlet Rot, and the other one's kind of like seems to be the regular one. We also got a few dials. We also got a few tokens, which you can see here at the bottom right. The new one is for the Scarlet Rot. Also have the damage tokens, which have value of 1 and 5. Next, I'm gonna show this cool board. That's a dual layered board, which allows you to place like the dials for the boss, the behavior decks, and also the spell deck, which is something new for the Machinations of the Witch. Places for you to place the stagger tokens and then other modifiers over here. It's kind of made in a similar way to the boards you could buy as an add-on for the to replace these ones. The same kind of dual layered board. And a cool thing about this board is that according to Steam-Forged Games, this will be a follower gift for the campaign. We also got some encounter books. These are not final, like I mentioned before, nothing here is final. Here I think it's just a sample of two maps. We get one for Caelid and we get also one for Liurnia. So for the Liurnia, it's like part of the Academy of Rhea Lucaria. Here you can see a few of the stats. But again, the book has only those two maps, and that's on purpose, I think just for the sample. And for the one in Caelid, you also have the Rot intensity, which I will explain later in the video what it does. That's a new thing. Here you have armor and Rot, which I will explain later in the video. We got the 4 books because when you play, you need all of them to form like a big map, which I will show as we are talking about them. We also got a few enemy and boss cards. So here are a few cards for the Red Wolf of Radagon. These are regular behavior cards. And then we also have spell cards, which is something new that, again, we will explain later on. It's really nice. We got some Servant of Wrath variations, which is one of the enemies that I will show soon, and also the Kindred of the Wrath. In this case, one with 10 and the other one with 8 health points. We have 2 characters that will be in the Machinations of the Witch. So we have the Samurai and the Astrologer. We already have them in other sets, but we will get new versions of them with different skills and also weapons. And then we also got 2 for the Dominion of Wrath, which is the Confessor and the Hero. We also have some attribute cards, which, as you can see, they have the Wrath or the Scarlet Rot background, so they are used as a mechanic on the Dominion of Wrath. I will explain what they do later. Something interesting as well for the cards, and again, don't take that as final, but we see that they did an update for some of the icons. So that's the old card and that's the new card. We also got some exploration tiles for Caelid and for Liurnia. So these ones are for Dominion of Wrath and this one for Machinations of the Witch. So we don't know much about how the exploration is gonna work and what are the new things added. But one thing for sure we can say is that we're gonna have for Caelid and for the Dominion of Wrath some sort of mechanic where you have a tile that is tainted and then you can cleanse, and then you have the same tile version like cleansed from the effects. And that's the same thing for all the tiles that you get. They have their cleansed and the kind of the rotten version of them. For Liurnia, we get part of the map that has like water, which surrounds the academy. Some new symbols as well. And then parts of the academy. There you go. And next, I'm going to be showing the miniatures. The Servant of Rot and the Kindred of Rot. It's a really cool miniature. You get to see all the details here on the armor, also on the staff. This guy is disgusting, but the miniature looks amazing. You get to see all the little hands, kind of those things in the back as well. And the head. And also the weapon. And we also got the amazing Red Wolf of Radagon. It's a really nice miniature. You get to see the fur. The head has a lot of nice details. And also the base. I really like the base. We also got the tarnished miniatures. So we have the hero. I really like the details on the horn. Also on the axe and on the fur. The samurai, which has a really nice detail on the hat. And then also the astrologer looks amazing. Next, let's talk about the two encounters we played, starting with the Gauntlet one that shows a little bit of the Dominion of Rot set. But before we start, again, keep in mind that these encounters are work in progress, so the mechanics and components are subject to change. Our objective was to defeat a bunch of Servants of Rot and a few Kindred of Rot over multiple rounds. These enemies are very strong and resilient with health between 8 and 10, and more of them are added on rounds 2 and 3. The servants, they hit large portions of the map, but the damage depends on how much Scarlet Rot you have, which is a new mechanic present on this set. The Rot status effect can be acquired by enemies, like the Kindred of Rot, and by being attacked by enemies on the row with the Rot attribute. Every time you are afflicted by the status, you gain a Rot token, and when 2 are accumulated, you activate the Rot build-up by raising the Rot tracker and then adding a Scarlet Rot attribute to your attribute deck discard pile. These cards, when drawn, allow you to play their attribute symbols but also do damage to your tarnished corresponding to the number of symbols it has. These Rot attribute cards are kept between scenarios and players can get rid of them during the campaign or on specific scenarios that have a specific row attribute for that. The encounter was very hard, as I would expect from this set since you're playing Caelid. We really had to talk to each other and decide the right order of attack to try and defeat as many enemies as possible to avoid getting hit with several Rot status in a row. And this can happen like super fast, and like in the video game, it's really lethal. I like the fact that this mechanic is simple, as it will help people that play the other sets to get into a new content and help new players to understand the rules. Next, let's talk about the boss encounter, which represents the sample from the Machinations of the Witch. We fought the iconic Red Wolf of Radagon in the Academy of Rhea Lucaria with 4 players. The boss had 100 health points and a lot of strong attacks, but one of the things to look out for in Machinations of the Witch are the new boss spell attacks. In this set, bosses will have spell attacks that are very strong behavior cards. These cards have a weak and a strong attack listed on it. The strong attack is played if the symbols on the top of the cards match with the boss behavior cards on the initiative track. If they match, expect some serious damage. In this boss fight, one of the rolls had the effect of reorganizing the initiative track to trigger the spell. So it's important for players to use Relocate Row effect, which allows Tarnished to change their position on the initiative track. The boss fight was fun to play, and we could explore new abilities and weapons for each of the 4 classes that come with the sample. I'm curious to check which bosses we will fight and kinds of spells we will have to thwart. The Confessor comes with the Guardian ability, which is a double-sided card that flips when the player receives damage or attacks. If on the attack side, it gives +1 to attacks, and if on defense side, it blocks 1 damage. The hero has the ability to replenish cards in hand at the end of the turn, but can only carry 3 of them. The cards deal a lot of damage, and the trick here is to use some cards that reshuffle a number of cards from the discard pile at any time. The Samurai is about playing 2 attack cards during their turn to perform a free draw and free move action at the end of their turn. Some cards allow the player to play 3 cards and count as if they played only 2. And the Astrologer has the ability to draw cards by spending FP. Its attacks have multiple effects, like discarding cards with a crystal name, for extra damage, or drawing more cards, or adding more attribute cards for damage, or applying stagger effects. Overall, the tarnished abilities and playstyles were interesting to play with and a twist on the base ones in case you have already mastered those playstyles. We did not have the opportunity to play some exploration encounters, but by judging by the sample tiles we received, you'll be able to cleanse some tiles with fire in Dominion of Wrath, transforming them, and have some new exploration encounter types in the Machinations of the Witch. Overall, I like the sample of both sets because they bring more of the elements we like in Elden Ring the board game and improve with new mechanics that add more strategical elements to play, new enemies with amazing miniatures, and new tarnished playstyles besides bringing us to new lands like Caelid and Liurnia. If you're curious about how these sets fit with the other board game sets, you can play them standalone or continue your campaign from Stormveil Castle. You can also use the tarnished you played before and their weapons and playstyles, or use the new ones. They allow you to mix and match. Steamforged Games will release a free update pack for backers that allow you to know exactly what things you can bring from which set. I can't wait to see the other components, campaign length, and bosses that we're gonna be fighting in these sets. And we don't have to wait a lot since the campaign starts on gamefound on August 28th. If you like Elden Ring board game and want to check more content for the game on our channel, check these links over here and stay tuned as we will cover the launch campaign. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!